And play. Hello everybody. I had a little thought last night. It was a bit of a dream, but it's the type of dream that you have when you're wide awake and you step back and you think about what you're trying to do and you find simple solutions to complex problems. And I don't really know if it's a solution so much as it is a complete sidestep and avoidance of a problem. But no, in my defense, I'm trying to make a game which is a balance between two very different types of games. So sometimes I may start leaning too much on one side, and then if I encounter deep problems because I'm trying to create a copy of this game, I just have to remember I'm trying to make a copy of this game and balance myself out again. And that's the only way to describe it. So I'm going to jump into the game and show you what work I did last night. I will be including at least one tutorial in the comments because, yeah, I tried doing it with ChatGPT and it was telling me to do it in a very complicated way, and like this way is not perfect either. Like every way has its pros and cons. I can kind of see why ChatGPT wanted me to leverage the power of Unreal. But also, I think ChatGPT is good with writing code, but it's not so great at understanding the relationship between different blueprint functions. So with the blueprint coding stuff, it's not as good as it is at just writing code. I suppose because there's so much documentation out there for code, but for each node and its functionality, maybe the documentation's not so great. I don't know. Anyway, enough rambling from me. I've turned down the resolution a bit, so now I'm actually getting a much smoother appearance. I did have it before where I could see the FPS. I see that switch itself off, but that's okay. I just wanted to show you and talk to you about this problem that we encountered yesterday. So I put a nice green flash, and we're no longer pressing E to pick items up. So that should be a little hint as to the difference. And yeah, they're different types for now, but it doesn't really matter. Right? So we're going to be able to click on them, we're going to be able to view their information, we're going to be able to equip them, which will have different effects based on different items. But I'm actually thinking, for the time being, until the game is significantly more fleshed out, we actually can keep the number of items kind of low, and so I actually don't think we really need the drop function, because you think about progression in a game and character development. So if you look at a Metroidvania, for example, we're going to be stuck inside this area until we find the special boots, and when we pick up the special boots, we'll be able to jump so high that we'll actually be able to access new areas. So that's kind of the idea in Metroidvania, right? Is that it's a sort of almost open world, but it's closed by the player's abilities or what keys they have. I think even Elden Ring does the same thing. It keeps you within a certain area until you defeat a boss to get a key to open up a slightly larger area and just kind of gradually introduce you to the world. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do precisely that, but what I was thinking of was a game like Duke Nukem. There's only 1 to 0, not including the mighty foot. So, but that's like 11 items in total, in terms of weapons. And then there are numbers for the different items that you pick up. And those items all have a specific function, and it's not like there's different variations of the item. Like there's a med kit, and the med kit, you can use that to just restore your health to 100. But then when you find another med kit, it just tops up the existing med kit, right? It doesn't actually. So I'm thinking potions are going to be items in the world that we pick up, and they're going to have an instant effect. They're not actually going to go inside here. But what's going to go inside here is going to be books that we can read inside here. There's going to be magical items, And when those magical items are inside our inventory, they will have an effect upon the player in the same way that, like you might be able to jump higher, or it'll help you to run faster, or it'll actually enchant your weapons with fire or something. And I thought with the weapons, I kind of want to have it so that I can think about Mountain Blade. I know Mountain Blade, you do have an inventory with many weapons in it, but your player can only contain a certain amount of weapons on them. And when you're in the battlefield, you have to go over to the chest to open the inventory. So you can't just dive into your inventory and choose whatever weapon you want. You've kind of got to be prepared. And so, because this game is kind of be small and limited, I thought we only need one-handed sword. And later on in the game, you'll be able to find a mace, because the mace will be slightly different in how the gameplay works. So you have the choice: do I want to use the sword or do I want to use the mace? And eventually you'll find the shield, and the shield will be something that affects both the sword and the mace, because now you'll be able to right-click to do the blocking, which is cool. So it's kind of like, you start the game with one weapon, and then that weapon sort of gets built on top of. Like, when you think of Oblivion, there's like an iron sword, a steel sword, an elven sword. They all basically provide the player with the same ability, but they are enhancing it in the sense that there's more damage and it looks nicer. So we're going to have a bow as well. But I thought a person who's carrying a sword and a mace and a shield and a bow, that's quite a lot of stuff to put on your body, right? So your inventory, your bag, if you will, is mostly going to be filled with books, magical items, and keys. And armor is actually going to be stuff that's on your body, and the weapons are stuff that's on your body. And I think keeping it limited like that will kind of make the display image for the player a little bit more possible, because if we have many items, we have many variations. And because I'm doing it in this sprite-based way, and I have to think about layering things, it's just quite hard, particularly as you can probably tell, because they're not my trees. I am currently just using assets other people have made, and I do sort of have a workflow for making the like eight-sided enemy sprites that look like people or skeletons or things. I do have a workflow for that, but it is not a hardcore sit down and draw each one by hand. Which, if somebody wants to do that, if I can, prove this to be a profitable enterprise, I would be very happy to pay someone to do that, because I like putting time into art. I don't want to have a quick, easy fix for everything, because people will know. Like with like if I was to use AI to generate images for the trees, or anything really, and I stood that tree next to this tree, you might not know that it's AI, but you'll know that the amount of care and love that went into them is a little bit, there's a difference, And I'm not trying to badmouth AI art generation stuff. I think it's good fun, it's cool. But I personally feel it whenever I look at, like, if I see an ad on my phone, I can't remember I think it was a healthcare company. And it was a video, and it was an AI generated video, and I just knew, looking at it, I was like, what it tells me is you're cheap. You didn't want to spend time to hire artists, and that kind of bugs me, because I guess in a way I am sort of an artist with what I'm trying to do here. So I like that they have a place in the world, and that their place is not just being replaced by computers. I think computers are a wonderful tool to create new forms of art, but that doesn't mean that we should completely get rid of all the wonderful forms of art that we already have, So yeah, let me show you again that green flash. That was the tutorial that I followed, because, yeah, very simple thing that I'm trying to do. So I knew that this should not be very hard to do. I should be able to get this done, and that didn't take too long at all. But exactly which way to do it was interesting because yes, the ChatGPT was telling me, oh, make a post-process volume and add a material to that process volume, and then set the material to have a scalar parameter, and then in your blueprint create a timeline and connect the timeline to the scalar parameter. But then it's like, no, you can't just change post-process volumes on the fly like that. And then it's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm so confused. You need to create a dynamic material instance, and it scales up with complexity because these are complex things. I think that's a wonderful part of this thing is its ability to do really great post-processing effects. And I will probably play around with that stuff a bit more in the near future, just to make everything look a bit cleaner, a bit tidier. But yeah, this is what we're going for, is that we're just going to pick weapons up quickly, have a little flash, but there's not going to be that many weapons. So when the player finds a weapon, it's a special moment, because it's like, well, the rest of the game from now on is different, because originally I had a fast light attack, and I finally found the mace, and now the mace is giving me the option of using a slow heavy attack. So based on the type of enemy that I'm fighting, I might prefer to use the mace, and certain enemies might have weaknesses to cutting. Someone without any armor is not going to handle a sword. I mean, I know that's what maces are for, right? Maces are for thick armor and just crushing through that armor. So it's a bit slower, but it's a lot more powerful against harder enemies. And so I might introduce you to harder enemies with your sword, and you're going to be like, oh, these guys are really annoying. But then, oh look, a little bit after that section of the game where those slightly harder enemies are, you got through that trial, and you're rewarded for that trial with a mace. And the mace makes that a breeze. Like, it's not so hard to kill those guys. But then there'll be enemies that don't have armor, and because they're not wearing armor, they can move a lot faster, so they might be harder to hit. So you might actually go back to using the sword again, because they're different abilities, if that makes sense, for different situations. Same with the bow. The bow is the only ranged ability, but haha, I haven't mentioned, yes, I do kind of want to have, kind of like in Oblivion, I guess, pressing C to cast spells. And so perhaps one of the options, so we have an inventory, we may have a spell book, or we may have items in the inventory which grant the player different spells, and we have to equip those items to equip the spell. I'm not entirely sure. I'm kind of thinking that you don't do anything with these, they just sit in the inventory as an item which provides a permanent buff to the player, like these magical artifacts. You just have them and they just improve some quality, like your speed or your jumping or your overall, I don't know, like when you kill enemies you'll get some health back, stuff like that. I got to brainstorm and think about different mechanics and things that will work, and I got to actually experiment too. You can't just brainstorm. You've got to sort of implement these features and play them a bit to see if it's fun. But yeah, that's where we're going. We're going to remove the drop button. We don't need to drop items now because it's an additive process, and the inventory is not going to get filled with so much clutter. We're not really going to have a bartering system for buying and selling things, because that's leaning too far over to the I'm trying to make Oblivion side of things, whereas I'm actually also trying to make Duke Nukem 3D type of game. So I want to balance the act, and so figuring out what parts of what games will get included in the final game, like in Duke Nukem you couldn't see any inventory, they were all just items down at the bottom of the screen there. But I am going to design this thing to kind of look visually very similar to that of Oblivion. And so, in a way, the story, the setting, the exposition will have things that are similar to that. And the gameplay level design as well. So that's something that I am going to be doing today. I'm a little nervous because I was telling you how ChatGPT is not so good with the blueprint system. And it was very good at helping me write the code in Godot for my level design, but I'm not entirely sure. Like, I was very confident because I was talking to ChatGPT and it was giving me some answers, but that was when I was going to bed and I didn't actually sit down and implement those things. So I don't know if it was just making it up, like if half that stuff would actually work the way that it would. I don't know. So I have to try, I'm going to dive in and try because I'm pretty sure there isn't going to be a tutorial for this on YouTube. There's definitely tutorials for similar things, but what I'm trying to do is obviously very specific, so I just have to kind of figure it out. So yeah, wish me luck. Okay, early days, but I'm about to go for a nice little break, so I thought I'd have a little chat with you with how things are going. And my intuition was correct in the sense that ChatGPT's not so great with blueprint systems, but it's not too bad with code. I'm not saying it's perfect in any way with code, but I think it's definitely slightly better. Maybe because it can just print the code out, whereas with blueprints it has to sort of tell you, get this one and connect it to this one, and yeah, it just makes some mistakes. So I thought what we're trying to do is actually very simple, but it's so simple that you necessarily need to get down into the code to do it. Just give me one sec. That is my break time alarm. Time for the break. But let me show you in the game, because it looks like trash. And you're gonna be like, what are you so excited about? And so right now, we can't switch it off, we can only switch it on. But when we press M, what do we see? We see a blue square. Now, what's the significance of the blue square? Why is that so exciting? Well, yeah, as I was saying, everything I've done so far has been in blueprints, but we got to do a little bit of learning about code today. And so we have our world map gen in its very base form, where all it does is set each pixel to the specific color. And it is accessible in the blueprint system. So inside the player, over here, when we press M, we're creating a view world map widget, which is this, which is just a blank image. And then set, add to viewport, generate image. What's the color? We want it to just be pure blue and full alpha. This was set to 0, and I was like, why is it not working? But obviously if the alpha is 0, it's going to be totally transparent. So we can set the size of the image here. And for some reason, this doesn't really seem to work because it's inside of a canvas. But I wonder if it's not inside the canvas. Is that going to delete the image as well? Yes. Anyway, that's fine. We can square it out so that it's all nice and even. But yeah, what's the next step? Where do we go from here? Well, because I now know how to open and implement and change codes, and I can build, and it all works, and we can see it all happening here, that's great. Because now all we have to do is really just modify this script. Not so much this script, because yes, this is a steep learning curve for me. With all the other games that I've used, there's just one script per script. But this one, no, it has the header, and then it has the actual script, and they're two different scripts. So that was something I had to learn, I have learned. Anyway, let's get into it. So set each pixel to the specific color. All that's doing is just changing the whole thing, right? But now what we can do is we can define other things, and we can add other colors. We can use Perlin noise, so that what we're going to get, ideally, I don't want to tell you too much. Yeah, because you're not going to show, you don't know what the next step is, but maybe you do. But if you can imagine, we press M, and it's going to if we go step by step, the first thing that we do is fill the image up with blue, which is what we've done. And then the second thing is we fill the image with green, but we don't fill the entire image with green. We take the center of the image and we take a defined radius, and we take the total size of the image, and there is some math. I'll show you. I was trying to do it in Blueprint originally, but then it was misleading me. It was telling me to do things that I could not do, and so wasting time. Oh, all that stuff's gone now anyway. But anyway, yeah, you got to do like square root to the power of, and you got to like use a bit of random floats and things. But basically, we should have a random island inside that blue. So we have a very blue picture, and we'll sort of paint a green island shape in the middle of it. And that's just the second step. There's various steps that we have to go through, because actually there's many different colors. It's not just blue and green, but right now, you gotta build it up simply. So the first thing is paint the whole thing blue. That's done. Second thing is going to be paint a little green island on it. And then the third thing will be going through certain things, like if we find a green pixel which has a blue pixel above it and to the right, we're going to set that to be a different color. And it gets a little confusing because we end up having like 18 to 24 different colors that we're using, and they all need to be defined. And it gets a little complicated, but it's great fun. And we're off to a rolling start. So yeah, I'd never opened up the scripting. I didn't even know how to make a script. Like, how do I write scripts for Unreal? I know that I'm using this program, but today I learned, oh, you actually go here. You gotta go Tools, New C# class. I didn't know that. And as I was saying, I didn't know that there's a difference between the header and the body, I suppose you'd call it. Because I did learn a tiny bit of HTML, and I know header usually just means the information that's carrying in it. Like, I'm pretty sure the header for this one is what's giving it this functionality of function to generate an image with a specific height, width, height, and color. So it's going to be a lot more than that, as we discussed. But yeah, I'll let you have a think about why you think it's important that we generate a random map to look at, and how that's going to translate into the game. And I will go and take a nice rest now. Very happy with how we're going. Let's go do that again because that feels nice. Oh yeah, lovely. But I kind of want that to happen behind this. But anyway, this is going to be the same as the inventory. It's going to pause the game. Same with the main menu. Also, let me show you, because I just neaten things up a little bit. So if I go here, I can't access my inventory. If I go here, I can actually jump over to here, but then that switches it off. And I think that's okay, to be honest, because yeah, why else would you? But the only problem is if we do it like that, then this doesn't work. So the thing I need to do is make it so that the game isn't paused when the inventory is on. That's a quick fix for it, at least, anyway. Because once that flashes over, it all works. But if we pick it up and then inventory, the flash hasn't finished. So yes, see you all soon. Bye bye. Okay, I had a little break and I took care of some other business that I needed to take care of, and then I sat down and just did a little bit, and then I'm probably going to take another break now because I'm sharing it with you. I'm happy with where we're going. Yeah, so a lot of stuff hasn't been tidied up yet, but we're starting to get somewhere. So as you can see, there are some blue pixels that are inside of the green area, and there are some green pixels inside of the blue area. So now that we've got this rough shape, what we're going to do next is um, iterate over it and say, is there any green pixel that's completely surrounded by blue? I'm looking at those two up there. Or any green pixel that has a blue one above it, below it, to its left, to its right. You know? Because I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can see at least 6 like that. And then there's at least 3 pixels where it's the inverse problem. It is a blue pixel with 4 green pixels on the top. So basically we just got to go through each pixel and ask ourselves, what are the pixels directly above, below, to the left and to the right? And if it's a green pixel with all blue around it, turn that pixel blue. If it's a blue pixel with all green around it, turn that pixel green. So then we'll have this island, but we're not going to see that little noisy kind of roughness on the edge there. Now I do have some numbers that I can change, but I haven't figured out how exactly I can access those. But something else I want to see as well. So let's take a look at that shape. And let's do a new game. Yes. So very similar. In fact, is it still the same? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that corner there. I don't know. Is this working? Oh, that's right. Yeah. So when I was saying that there's some numbers that I can change, I'll show you. In here. So this is the header. And these are properties. So somewhere inside here, I should be able to actually access these numbers and change them from within here. I was hoping that they would just appear here, but as we can see, this one is blueprint callable, and maybe I just need to change edit anywhere to blueprint callable. Shall we do it together? It's a little bit annoying, but what I have to do is actually close the Unreal Editor because I don't want to have any issues. Basically, I had one issue where it is quite scary, but we're just going to set them all to be blueprint callable. Save that. Save that. And here, yeah, so the last one, this is the seed. So if we generate a new 5-digit number each time, we should be getting a new island shape each time, which is what we want. So now I will rebuild solution. This usually takes about a minute, and it always tells me that I'm not using the right version, but I feel like the version I'm using is newer than the old version. There we go. There we go. So blueprint callable is only allowed on multicast delegate properties. Whatever that's supposed to mean. I do not know. But this edit anywhere, I can't really see. But wow, look. We got thousands of errors now. That's why I'm saying it's a little frightening. Because if I now act like nothing's happened and I just go in and try to, I'll show you. Because this happened to me earlier and I was like, have I now lost all my progress? Am I going to have to start from scratch? Have I broken it? No. No. It's fine. We just have to do a rebuild solution in here and make sure that the code doesn't produce any serious errors. And it didn't before. It only did because I changed these 3. So as long as they're all set back to what they were, we should be back to where we were. And yeah, what I want to do is see how I can find these numbers inside the blueprint so that you know, we can fiddle around with the noise. The noise amplitude is how much it affects it, and I think it's better commented in here. These do scare me. Whenever things are like red, no. But I think we're going to be okay. I think. We'll see what it comes up with when it finishes the build. Yeah, look at all that red over there. Not nice to see. Red means stop, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a break now, but I'm going to talk it over with you guys. So yeah, you can use Perlin noise to modify the radius of the island for a more natural shape. And apply the colors. Create the texture. Something else I had to do was tell it, where is it there? Set the filter to nearest, because I do not like, for the kind of game that I'm making, I do not like, I mean I do for other games, like it's a wonderful technology, but for the kind of game I'm making, we want to see the sharp edges of those pixels. The moment things look blurry, that's like the, I don't know, yeah, it's like, I like low resolution games, you know, I like pixely games, but that doesn't mean I like low resolution with a billionaire filter on it. But now we should still get the same, yeah, because we're always playing that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seed. But if we click M and we go in and change that seed to a random number, like we just generate a random 5-digit number, then it should be alright. We should be well on our way. So this is the first section, and as I was saying, let me just look at it again. So I was talking about how we have to now scan through every pixel and ask ourselves what are the colors above and below, to the left, to the right, and then tidy it, because then that'll just get rid of those little speckled dots around the edge that we don't want. And then what we'll be left with is a blue ocean with a random green island shape, and it's always a new random green island shape each time, which is lovely. That's what we want. And then with this particular function of making this picture, there's a few more things that we have to do, such as every green pixel which has a blue pixel above and to the left. So I'm looking at the top right, I'm looking at all those corner pixels that go down. We need to set them to a specific color. And every green pixel which has a green pixel on the left, a blue pixel above, below, and to the right, set that to a specific color. And basically go through that for all 4 sides, if you will, 4 corners, because it is a square. It's just a very deformed square, because we're working with pixels. And so there's basically 4 corners on this image that needs to be worked out. And as I recall, yes, so we have a green pixel which has green pixels all around it except the pixel that is 1 down, 1 to the right. That's a blue pixel. So that green pixel, the 1 blue pixel down and to the right, but all the other pixels are green, that needs a specific color. So we have the outside corner and the inside corner, if that makes sense. But I'm not going to do any of that stuff just yet. I'm just going to go through and tidy it up so we don't have these speckled dots. I mean, I don't really have to do that now. Now that we have this, we can actually go on to doing the second piece of work. But yeah, I'm going to tidy this thing up, and then I'll just talk a little bit about what that next piece is. I kind of didn't because I want to surprise you, but I'll talk about it. So probably easier actually if I show you from over here. So we have our base level, and as you can see, once we get further and further out, where I can go faster. I guess it's a little bit faster. What is that? Oh look, it's a perfect square. So I want you to imagine that this perfect square is 1 green pixel. And that's basically how it works. You know, we sample the image, and then we basically ask ourselves what. So there's a translation that happens. So we take the player's world position and we take the size of the image. It's not like we're creating the whole image. We're just reading the image and we're saying to ourselves, if the player has moved a certain amount, like the player has stepped over to here, then we're not reading this pixel anymore, but we're reading this pixel. Like, we just moved one pixel over on our image. But we're not reading one at a time, we're actually reading 9. So we're reading this one, and we're reading those three, and then that one and that one. So 8 all around us. And yeah, as we step over to here, this one will still load, but these ones will unload. Because when we're over here, we should have those ones loaded, and basically we'll just keep track of 9 pixels surrounding the player, wherever the player happens to be standing in the world. There's a bit of a math translation between that and how far does the player have to walk to cross 1 pixel in our tiny image. So yeah, that's kind of how it works. Because yeah, I'll show it to you again one more time. Yeah, it is a small picture. It is not very large. It's, I think, 33 by 33, because we want to have 17 by 17 be in the exact center. I want to have a pixel in the center, because if it was obviously an even number like 16 or 32, there wouldn't be a single pixel in the center. There would be a what's the word? It would be the point in between 4 pixels. And I don't want to spawn the player at a point between 4 pixels, because actually the only thing I don't like about this system is when you step over a pixel, it's kind of obvious that you've stepped from one area into another. But I mean, I remember Oblivion had a similar system, and like Unreal does have its own system for this called world partition. And world partition is basically chop the world up into chunks and just display whichever chunk the player is in, and don't display the other chunks. But this one is, yeah, I'm trying to do something a little bit like Dwarf Fortress, I suppose, because there's a sort of a random element to it. But in another way, it's not random, because this is a level that we design, and this may not be the complete size. You know, we could double this up so that it's actually quite large. And what I want is to imagine a player who never leaves a single square. And so I ask myself, is this single area fun to play in? You know, are there nice things to discover and look at and do in this single pixel? Because if that's the truth, if that works for this single level, and I design, say, 10 green ones, then in our other code, where we are translating the map into green pixels, because there's going to be a lot of different colors for the different shapes of the terrain and for the different features on the terrain. You know, like a town will be a certain colored pixel. And so the only thing that has to remain consistent are the edges, so that everything can kind of tile neatly with one another. But within each area, as long as that place feels cozy, intimate, mood, you know, as long as it feels fun, like we like being inside that single pixel, then we can just go and visit another pixel, and visit another pixel, and visit another one. And the order in which they display can kind of be randomized. So I could design, say, 10, 15, 20, I don't really know how many I need, because I haven't gotten that far into it yet. That's when you're actually having play testing and stuff, you know, to make sure that, because you don't want it to be too repetitive. So you need a reasonably large pool to be generating from, so that you're not always generating the same one again. But yeah, what I was saying is, even though there's a lot of green pixels and they're all the same color, when we are loading that green pixel for the first time, we may ask ourselves, which level do we want to load for this green pixel? Because there's actually going to be a pool that we can choose from. So that's how I'm going to try and make it not feel too repetitive. And also, yeah, by limiting myself, so I don't have to worry too much about level design stretching out. Like, I don't need to make a large world, I just need to make sure that this single area that the player inhabits feels good, and then repeat that over and over again in various forms to make different areas that feel nice. And then players will basically just be dealt a random set of those that they can go through. So each playthrough, or each person's experience, should feel a little bit different because the island that they're on is going to be a different shape, and which levels do we load for which green pixels will kind of be a bit different each time. So trying to add, that's why I say Dwarf Fortress, some kind of, iterative thing. And that's also why the gameplay just needs to be quite easy to get and quite fun, because I don't want it to be really difficult for me as a designer to think about how everything is going to stitch together in terms of player's progression. We have a certain number of items that the player can pick up which will enhance their abilities, but it's just one island with a few places to visit, and yeah, I think you get the idea. So I should probably end it now. I just want to keep talking. I hope you're as excited as I am about getting into doing some of the coding stuff, because trying to get this system working entirely inside of Blueprints, I would encourage you to have a go if you wish, because I gave up and I was like, let's just do it in the code because it's a lot more simple. I'm trying to do something, but as you saw with the image, I keep going back to it. I'm making the video very long now, but I'm liking it because it looks exactly like the one that I had in Godot, and so I do feel like what I was doing in that can be achieved in this. And if that can be done, then we can go the rest of the way and get everything else done, because we're using Unreal now, and it's got a lot more simplicity in its functionality. It's a lot more, I don't know, I don't want to say it's more user-friendly, but in my experience it is. I have to be honest, I'm digging it, I think that it feels fun and exciting where we're going with it, so yeah. That's enough chat from me. I'll see you all in a little while. Welcome back. I'm running out of time now. It's starting to get late. I may continue doing a bit more work, but I know I have to do some other stuff. So I'm probably going to wrap the video up now and say bye-bye to you all so that I can edit, publish, release, and then I can crack on and do a little bit more work to show you what's happening tomorrow. But I'll show you where we're at now. New game. I'll show you this real quick. So yeah, pretty ugly. But this stuff down here, this is all going to be there whether the inventory's on or not. So this is the health, this is the magic, and I don't know what's happening with these 4 pixels here. Just something to do with how the texture's being imported, I suppose, but I haven't really looked at that. Anyway, this is going to be where the symbol of the currently equipped weapon will go, and the symbol for the currently equipped spell will go. And then over here, we're going to have a kind of compass so that we can see which direction is north, south, east, west, etc., etc. And then here we'll have our 4 item types. I haven't figured out exactly which ones, I just kind of got the buttons working. And I changed the drop button to be called equip, but it is still the drop button, so it doesn't actually do anything. Let me just go pick some items up so I can show you that, this is where the text is going to go. There's no text because, the item's name will also go there. And this section, I might shrink this down a little bit and have it end around here so that we have a bit more space over here. This is going to be where the picture of the player is. And when we click on this, this whole screen will basically look the same, but over here we'll have some stat information. I'm not sure what we'll put here, but we'll have the player's picture still. I haven't really decided what all of the pages are going to look like, but when we click here on the sword, that'll take us to this inventory page. And when we click here, it'll take us to the magic spell page. And when we click here, it'll take us to where the world map is, and we'll be able to see all the different quests that we have, something like that. It's based off Oblivion's one. It's basically exactly copied from that. So Don't sue me. Um, it's just inspiration. It's a stylistic thing. A lot of the other qualities in the game are going to be different. Like the game is going to feel very different, and I'm not sure how deep the stats and leveling stuff will go because I haven't really thought about any of that stuff yet. But what I wanted to show you was just that that's how it looks. But now I can press M and I can constantly make a new one every time. And yeah, they all look the same, right? But that's actually what I want, because I want everybody who plays the game to basically have the same experience. You know, you want to have consistency whilst also having diversity. You want to balance the two. So we don't want the maps to look completely different from each other. And I'm not entirely happy with the 2 blue pixels that are creeping in on the map there. And in the same way we don't really have it with the green one. Let's see. Can we get, I don't think we'll get 2 single green pixels creeping out because of the way the code is, but we are getting those 2 blue pixels kind of creeping in, which I don't want, because I want to, I can't show you, I should get the mouse up, okay. So, in this case we can have a corner and an inside corner and a straight inside corner, straight corner, inside corner, corner. So that all works just fine. But when you get, because the game is paused, it doesn't work. So when you get a case like this, which is the wrong button, when we get a case like this, it's just a little bit harder for me to wrap around. Like, what does this piece look like? Because this is not a corner piece, because it has the water on that side. You know, like, because we're working with pixels, we don't have a lot of room. So it does still need a little bit of work, but I think it's at the place now where something like that is acceptable, you know? Let's see if we can get another one. Yeah, see, that would work just fine. I'm pretty sure. If I implemented the code for changing all the corner and inside corner pixels, this one would wrap around just fine. It wouldn't have any broken bits. Like here we have a broken bit on the top left just up here. That wouldn't work. But anyway, let's not fixate on how broken it is. Let's think about what's coming next. So, what is coming next? The next thing I'm going to do is write the code for turning that into the quit your game, turning that into this. So we know that we're standing on a green pixel, and a green pixel is equal to 1 actor, and that actor will be this shape. But I gotta cut holes in these walls so that we can walk off to the edge, because when we walk to the edge, we will, say we're starting here, we'll walk to the edge and we'll load up the same thing again and again and again and again and again until we reach here, and then that one should not be looking like that one, because it'll be a different type, because it's the blue one. Obvious, right? But once that's basically working, and we have a very large, extremely boring, flat world, but the world aligns with what we're seeing here. So we know, okay, here's the water, so if we go up, we'll hit the water, and if we go along, we'll be able to see the code. You know what I mean? Once that basically is working, then we can come back to this section, and we can start making this look a little bit better in terms of getting those double broken bits fixed, and then we'll start painting the corners. And once the corners are painted, I have to go and make the assets for the corner pieces, and I'll probably just use a flat plane for the green pixel for now, and a flat plane for the other one. But I'll put grass on here, and I'll put sand on where the flat plane for the water is going to be, so that we'll see, okay, I've walked from the grass onto the sand. And that'll be temporary, because obviously, you know, we have a straight piece, and I only have to make 3 pieces. I have to make an inside corner, an outside corner, and a straight piece. And then I copy and paste those 3. I basically make 3 more copies of those 3 pieces, so we have 12 pieces in total now, but it's actually just 3 times 4. And for those other 8, we just have to rotate it by 90 degrees. And I could do that in code, but I'd actually rather just when I'm designing it, just flip it 90 degrees and be like, that's that corner, and then get those to properly instantiate and spawn. Because then, yeah, we'll basically be able to run from here to here, and we'll be able to run around the coast and see it curving. And if they're all tiling correctly, it's not going to look really harsh and pixelated. You know, we're not going to see green, 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 blue, because the green corner will kind of be, you know, because I don't know why I'm doing that actually, because it's kind of hard to show you. But just go new, delete the camera, delete the knife, delete the cube, mesh plane, and then we're going to go. I think with that one, I was doing it at that size. I think it's at that size. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. What we want is a 4 meter by 4 meter. Yeah. So I think it is actually scale it up. Let's go 4. Why not? And then bang bang. So we got quite a bit of space to work with here, and the bit that has to be grass. So if this is like, if we imagine that there's a blue pixel here, a blue pixel here, a blue pixel here, and this is a green pixel, what it actually will look like is it has to be those ones that are green, and all of these ones will be dropped down to the ocean level with all the sand. I think that's right. Yeah. Because like a straight piece, so a green piece that has a blue on the left is going to have to look like that. But when I say have to, what I really mean is that it's just this piece and this piece that have to. And inside here, we can, you know, create nice, interesting shapes so that it doesn't look so harsh on the, you know, it's not obviously a square, even though it is. Like that. You know, and what we'll do is we're going to say new, we're going to make it blue, so it's all blue, and then we'll make another one, make it green, and we're going to assign those ones to green, material preview, because now, this should be, and is it, well, that's going to be 256, I think. Yes. You can start seeing kind of what our landscape is going to end up looking like if one of these squares is about 4 meters across. You know, like when you look at this one, I should have done this first. This is what I was originally going to do. Then I thought let's jump into Blender. So that size there for that cube, that is 4 meters. I'm pretty sure that's 4 meters. So that's 4 meters right there. So this kind of undulation that we see here is the same as what we're seeing here, but obviously this is much bigger because it's like, I think this is twice the size as the other one. I think the other one is 128, whereas this is the 256 one. Or it's 512 because from there to there, no, what am I saying? It is 256. Yeah, 256. Yeah. Anyway, I think you get the idea, right? I don't want to go too much more into it, but that's what I'm going to be working on later on tonight if I have some time, once I finish putting this video together. Apologies if these videos keep getting so long. I know nobody likes to just listen because it's terribly boring and my videos are extremely low effort, but I am going to try and do less you know, because I do watch the videos back and I think about my presentation skills, and I do want to improve. I want to do the best job that I can in all aspects of the development. And these videos are becoming a part of the development. They're actually becoming a very important part. So I need to give them as much love and care as I do all the other parts. but I was originally skeptical, and so that's kind of why I've gone with a slightly more low effort approach, because I actually just want to make a game, and this is more for my own purposes, keeping my thoughts in order so that I know where I'm going with it, and also just reflecting back, see how excited I am. I'm very happy. So, yeah, I'll show you the code as well. Something my dad used to say, we're cooking with gas. Um, what I mean by that is I'm more comfortable and happy now that I know how to do this very simple thing, which is new C# class, and then open it in here and save it and build it and have it actually work and be able to set the parameters. Like we can increase these ones by a lot and we'll get some really crazy results. Very different. And the reason it's looking so blocky is because I am trying to go through and delete any of those stray pixels that are out there, but it doesn't catch all the cases of it. So we have to sort of control the it can't be too noisy. Like I was saying, we have to sort of balance the diversity with the consistency, because I'll show you, if we drop it really low, then it's kind of like making a random generator for it is, what's the point? Because it barely has any effect at all. It's like, that's just going to be the same world, it's so subtle in the difference, it's too subtle. So the original numbers, actually, the default numbers were actually, they were pretty good. So I think this is still 0.1, and I think this one is 2. I think that one might be 0.2. Yeah, I think that one is probably 0.2. So let's have a look quickly before I end the video. But I do like talking to you guys. I like making videos, and I feel like once I started making videos, I suddenly felt more comfortable commenting on other people's videos and liking and subscribing to people. Like usually, for me, YouTube was a very passive experience. And in my defense, I don't want to criticize people. It's very easy for me to be critical and harsh. This one was 5, that was fun. It's very easy for me to be harsh on others. And I always thought, if anybody is going to be really harsh on me, the first thing I'm going to do is see if they make videos. Because then I'm like, if you don't make your own videos, then you don't get it, you don't understand the process, which might be arrogant of me. But I feel like it's so easy to pick what other people are doing, and it's much harder to look at yourself. So if anybody was like really harsh on me, I would immediately go and see what they did. And if they did stuff that was impressive, well, then I got to learn from them, But a lot of stuff on YouTube does kind of bother me a little bit, so I'm very happy to share myself on YouTube. Find other small people who don't have lots of views or videos that have just been released, and reach out and start talking, engaging in it like social media rather than it just being. It's a bit like TV, you just sit and watch TV. You don't really interact with TV. So learning to interact with YouTube. Obviously, it's just a way for me to try and draw attention to my own channel. Like the reason I'm commenting on other people's videos is I want people to be like, who's that guy? I want them to click so that they go watch my videos, just so that the algorithm can start, recommending my videos to more and more people. But anyway, I think that's enough chit-chat for me. You've seen what I've done today, which is good fun. I'm very happy with this random generation of a very... It all looks the same, right? But I'm not going to be bothered. I'm not going to be too worried by it, because I still think, despite what it looks like, I actually think the scope for this game is quite small. We're just making... I was thinking about Duke Nukem. In that first level, you basically experience everything that there is to experience in the rest of the game. It's kind of just that in the rest of the game there's some more fun bits. There's some more difficult monsters, but the whole gameplay loop of run around, find the keys, use the keys to get to the end of the level, use the weapons. It doesn't really innovate further than that, and I suppose maybe you don't need to, because if you just have a fun loop, people will be happy to do that. So that's my intention for this game, is actually to keep the scale nice and small. Even though I want to create a reasonably large world for people to run around in, the loop will actually be pretty simple, not too complicated, because I want to get it finished quickly. I don't want to spend months and months and years developing this game. So that's kind of why I'm doing it every single day. Make the videos once a day, because then it's so short and sweet, and I keep up a certain rhythm, and I'm liking where I'm going with it. So thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful time. Bye-bye.